In 1936, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, banning all slavery in America. Then, in the 1960s, Martin Luther King Jr. came along, and with his movements and speeches, he convinced people of America that everyone was created equal. Yet still, all these years later, there's still a form of hatred in the world. It rages like a wildfire, and no one does anything to stop it. Do you know what it is? It's racism. You know, you would think at this day and age, racism would be extinct, but no. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, he said that he dreamed of a world where people were not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. King, but your dream has not come true. Not yet. People are still being judged by the color of their skin. Today, we shall look back into the history of racism. Then, we shall look at the effects that racism has on society. And lastly, we'll discuss solutions that you can incorporate into your daily lives to help end racism for good. According to George Fredrickson, professor of U.S. history in Stanford University, racism first came to mind in the 13th century, when Jews were associated with devils and witchcraft. Then, in the period of Renaissance and Reformation, Europeans were truly astonished when they found out that there were people in the world with darker skin color. Eureka! Well, they immediately took a disliking to these people. The climax of the history of racism came early in the 20th century, when African Americans were denied the right to vote. Later, however, they were returned that right. You may have think racism was extinct many, many years ago. However, you, my friend, are incorrect. It permeated throughout society in a set of laws known as Jim Crow. According to George Charles, author of Life Under the Jim Crow Laws, it was a set of laws that prohibited colored people from exercising their rights as full citizens. It sent a message that whites were superior to all other races, especially blacks, in all ways, including behavior, intelligence, morality, and social status. In fact, these laws were so pervasive that they regulated every aspect of life. Based on what I've said so far, I'm sure that you all are starting to get a slight understanding of what racism really is. But, as my literacy teacher likes to say to my dismay, there is more. Much more. According to Lisa Lugo, teacher of law, when racism exists in a nation, it does not allow for a collective contribution of its citizens. When one person is excluded from a group of people, they cannot contribute their knowledge to that group of people. Next, when racism exists in a country, its people fail to develop socially. We're so used to getting along with one group of people, one race, one type, that it's almost impossible to get along with anyone else. Lastly, racism destroys our morality. The Christians have a commandment to explain this, issued by Jesus. It says, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." However, many people find this very hard to do. You know what? Enough of the bad stuff. There are actually some simple steps that you can take to help end racism for good. Take it from StopHate.us, who says that the number one thing that you can do is speak up. If you see acts of racism around you, tell a trusted adult, and hopefully they can help the situation. Be an upstander, not a bystander. You can also just talk to people. If you've experienced racism before, share your story with other individuals who hopefully will then realize the harmful effects of racism and won't do it themselves. If you haven't experienced it, listen to other people so they feel like they're being listened to. In the end, people just need to realize what Martin Luther King Jr. made them realize, that everyone is created equal. Or as Maya Angelou put it, we need to understand that diversity makes for a rich tapestry, and each thread is of equal value, no matter what the color. You know, facts and statistics aside, there's only one point that I'm trying to drive here today, and that is that there's only one thing that should really be separated by color: laundry.